Yeah, and for this one I might add also when you're drunk. And also for us ladies, you know that HALT, that is hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. So if you're experiencing any one of that, just you guys will just have to forgive me for doing this outside. I was feeling so self-conscious. Gosh, I've gotten burnt so many times, and I can say there's some lessons that I'm pretty confident about that I'm taking into my 30s now. Hi everyone. Fall is here. It is cold out here. Oh my god. I just came out for a short walk and decided why not share with you a couple of lessons that I'm thinking about as I turn 30. I recently turned 30. So, I just think I should share with you some of the things I've been pondering on, some of the lessons I feel like I'm taking with me to my next decade. You guys will just have to forgive me for doing this outside. I was feeling so self-conscious shooting this video in front of my partner, and so we are out here and just don't mind the noises. New York is always super busy, but I hope you can hear me. I'll just get into it real quick. So what I'd tell you is don't do anything drastically important if you are experiencing HALT, HALT, that is hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. So if you're experiencing any one of that, just hold your actions. And for this one I might add also when you're drunk, and also for us ladies, that time in the month where you're feeling a bit off, it's like your mind is all over the place and it's like PMS symptoms. Just try not to initiate big conversations and make decisions about breaking up or making up. It's just some of the biggest regrets I have all boil down to things I did when I should have halted. So halt, remember that one. I've been thinking about how many of the pains and heartaches that I had were actually, the purpose was to kind of push me to a more authentic life. I'm looking at all the things that didn't work out, boyfriends that didn't, we broke up eventually, or just things classes that I failed in, when I was studying for one thing or the other, and the major disappointments I've had, even though they were so painful, they were always kind of pushing me to be in a more conducive environment for who I actually am. You get and so I think the lesson is that many of the disappointments you'll have and many of the heartaches that you'll have are actually life forcing you to be more authentic, refine your friends, find new people, people who gel better than you, a job that gels better than you. And I know it's really hard, especially when you're inside the pain, to think about it, because you're obviously mourning what it is that you're losing, the thing that you have to say goodbye to. But if you can, ask yourself, like, in what way am I being pushed to live the things that are too different from me, and like are forcing me to show up in an inauthentic way? And how can I do things better that like the next time I live more in my body, like I am actually more comfortable, I'm more myself, I have less anxiety, things like that. I'll say one that many people will not like to hear, but people don't invest in their CVs enough, and I used to be one of them. But working on your CV is like the most important investment that you could ever do for yourself. Like, your CV is this item that goes before you. It goes ahead of you to try and advocate for you in rooms that you're not even a part of. Like, it's that thing that works in the background when you are not working on something. In like, how can I explain it so that it makes sense? Like, do you get what I'm saying? Like, a CV or a resume is your armor. It's like, it's the thing that determines whether you enter in certain rooms or you don't. And it's like, it's so funny how we get the temptation to be very lazy about updating our CVs or making it better, or having someone else, like a second pair of eyes, look at it. You guys, just keep working on your CV. I think that in this day and age, I think also that includes LinkedIn, but I can say for certain more on your resume. Have a good resume. Like, if you want to just obsess over it, have people look at it, have people of different industries, different jobs that are like potential hiring managers talk to you about your CV, like, work on your CV. That's the one of the biggest investments that you can have for yourself. Okay, I have one that I don't know if you will understand or not, but don't multiply things by 0. So this is what I mean. There are many things in life where if you make a certain mistake, it's like you've multiplied by 0. So, for example, taking like drugs or something, or like, for example, having unprotected sex. Not that children are bad or babies are bad, but let's say you're not prepared to have that child, and by having that child, like, you make everything else like very unstable. You hurt your chances of like moving with intention. You just like complicate everything by getting pregnant or something like that when you're not ready. So what I'm saying is, even if you're working hard in other things, try not to multiply by 0 by doing something really reckless. And reckless things can come from like unprotected sex, or like indulging in certain drugs, or getting into more of the hard drugs, or it could be like not investing in a good password for like your bank or something, like maybe, I don't know, like posting a nude online, or sending a nude to someone who you don't really trust, and then it can get leaked, or like not putting on your seatbelt in a car. And the research is proven on like how seatbelts help whenever there are accidents. Like, you might be putting efforts from here to the sky, but these small things can be your biggest downfall, and it can multiply everything by 0. And anything multiplied by 0 is 0. You obviously know that. So please, it's the small things, or the ones that you don't want to pay attention to, that can really bring you down in a major way. So when I realized the 80-20 rule, I feel like it really changed my life. You need to ask yourself, what is the 20% that affects almost 80% of this thing? So it's like, if you can hack the 20% properly, then the rest are not as important. I think I might have learned that from what? Is it the 4-hour work week by Tim Ferriss? That book, by the way, is like, yeah, completely changed my life. But the 80-20 rule says that 80% of like the outcomes, or like something like 80% of something, of the results of something, is dependent on just 20% of that thing. So I don't know if it applies to everything, but let's say you're trying to get a good job, or let's say you're trying to do an exam, or you're trying to make your relationship work. You need to ask yourself, what is the 20% that affects almost 80% of this thing? So it's like, if you can hack the 20% properly, then the rest are not as important, So if you're trying to get a job, and you can maybe ask people you trust or your network, what's the most important thing that can get me through the door? What's the 20% that affects 80% of my chances? If you're doing an exam, also find the topics that are the core topics. So not everything is equally important, is what I'm saying. There's something that I've been thinking more and more in friendships, and it's this quote that I had from that YouTuber. I think she's called Shan Budi. She said once something like, do you want to be right, or do you want to be loved? So yeah, many times when I've had these interesting situations with friends, and I'm feeling like something has hurt me, something has gone wrong or something, and I'm finding it hard to toe the line. It's worth asking yourself that question: do you want to be right, or do you want to be loved? Yeah, and at least for me, I want to be loved. So sometimes that trumps being right. Yeah, but that being said, you should always, I feel like you should always try and move into spaces where you are more yourself. Listen to your body. Think about the spaces or the people where you are so relaxed, you are so yourself, and you're not anxious, you're not trying to say certain things or do certain things a certain way. If you pay attention to your body, it will be a good indicator of this person is more of your tribe than another person. So yeah, even though I've said do you want to be right, or do you want to be loved, but of course I'm not saying that applies to everyone. Just over time, if you find yourself moving away from certain people and going into spaces and going into meeting with people who make you feel more okay in yourself, people who make you feel you're calm, you're loved, yeah, just follow the love, guys. Learn to follow the love. And sometimes when things are not working anymore, and you're not feeling you're feeling something's not right, you're feeling you're on edge, yeah, you're just anxious, you're like having to choose your words carefully and calculate every move, and you're not sure why, you're just not feeling that rest, you're not feeling rest in your heart, then it's okay for you to keep like evolving your friendships and moving into newer spaces. Like, don't feel guilty for evolving in that way. So it's a balance. It's like, let yourself experience good love, but also don't be so perfectionistic and keep zapping people just because you want to be right. And then the same thing, kind of related to the same thing, is I've learned about communicating with empathy, and this one is so hard for me. I can admit, like, I'm someone that always wants to talk about facts. I'm always trying to like say, but you said this, and then after that you say this, and it's not adding up, and the actual situation was this, and these are the facts of the ground. But gosh, I've gotten burned so many times, and I can say for a fact now, we need probably to like, people like me, we need to like slow down our pace of talking and really try to communicate with empathy. Another something that I use more often these days is trying to say, what I ask myself is, when I'm communicating, what's something that would inspire them, instead of saying what's a way I can show them that they are wrong and I'm right. Instead I ask, what is something that truly inspires them and is like a win-win situation for both of us, so if maybe someone is being shady, of course you might want to be like, here is the technical facts of, but I think nowadays I'm trying to like communicate, like, first of all, I take things slowly, not just bombard them immediately. Like, sit them down, remind people that you love them, remind people that you care for them, or you care about a certain thing you're working on, and then fine, you can explain yourself and you can show how something hurt you, but just try to do it from like a win-win situation. Like, you and I would be great together if we were a team on XYZ. You and I, like, you paint for them a picture where they are inspired to come together and solve this issue, rather than just showing them, I have the facts, I have the, like, I'm not saying this to be like, don't pay attention to your rights, blah 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 blah, but I feel like there's so many people that I could have done a better job in terms of like winning them over with inspiration, instead of trying to show them the technicalities. Yeah. I know that one it's genuinely hard for me. Another thing I really realized is the power of relationships. I'm saying this as someone who, I'm more like technically oriented. Like, I want to be very technical. I want to be like doing work by myself, and like even at work I really care about like the results and how things are worked out, and how to make the report, how to do the math. But like, the way the world is right now, relationships are so important. Like, there's a place you can't get to, like, you can't get promoted past some level, and you're finding you can't move forward because your people skills are lacking. So I would say, like, there have been times in my life where the things that got me ahead was actually like 70% people skills and 30% the actual work. Like, there have been places I've gone and I barely did the work. Like, I legit barely did the work, but just was like you know, I showed up to the happy hours, I showed up to the, I don't know, you know, I was like listening to people, paying attention to them. Every time there was a gathering, I'm there. I was like, you know, affirming people, being keen, and being likable. And these people like vouched for me. They were like, they moved me forward. They were like, we've really loved having you in our team. You know, they were like, here is a job, like apply. Like, it's so crazy, you guys. Like, to me, I kind of mourn that a little bit, because I'm just like, honestly, I'd really like a world where things were a bit more, like, less subjective and more like it's your work that dictates how far you go. You know, it's like, it's something good quality is what is taken forward, you know, is what is implemented. But in the world we live in right now, it's just your people skills, you really cannot ignore them. You know, your networking skills, you really cannot. I don't know how to tell you this enough. So yeah, for those of us who are like slightly introverted, like we're just like, yeah, we're like technical and everything. There are seasons in your life where you might want to like pay attention. Don't forget the people skills, for sure. You know, the other thing is that people will disappoint you. Yeah, people will disappoint you. Just be prepared for it. Even if it's okay to be very hopeful and to be like very ambitious, very like, I want to make these people my friends. I want to be like, trust people, but expect a little disappointment. And also you will disappoint people, and that's normal. That's even expected. And yeah, I feel like we're all imperfect. That has been something that has been really hard to admit all through my 20s, but it's becoming clearer and clearer that I'm not a perfect person. It's very humbling, but also it's like, it helps to accept the humanity in others, you know, and be less judgmental, you know. And also kind of like related to that is the people that love you the most and who you love the most as well. Like, people inside your circle are the people who will hurt you the most. Like, by definition, these are the people that like your heart is most open to and so vulnerable to. So even if they do something like trivial or something where like if someone down the street did that to you, you'd be like, yeah, whatever. But because this person is inside your circle and you have like, you really love them, it's going to sting even more. So, and even you, the things that you say to them or the things you do to them is going to hurt them more. So the people that you love, by definition, are the people who like you will hurt each other the most. Sorry, I'm not saying that so that you'll be okay with like having pain or like being treated badly, but it's also important for you to like take a step and really understand what it means to love and be loved. You know, yeah, I think it was Alain de Botton talks more about this. It's like, to love is to be open to be pained by this person. So even, yeah, in your marriage or in your best friendships, like, have an allowance for that. Have an allowance for this person could say something like, it's a bit petty, but it's stinging me more. And even vice versa, like what I think is just petty for me, like I might need to apologize more, and I need to factor in that coming from me, because they really love me, it's like there's being so much more vulnerable to what I'm doing than anyone else, you know. Anyway, that's just, I mean, I don't know what you will do with that, but I'm being cognizant of that fact of life more. And it's really confusing, honestly. It's honestly very confusing. It's a paradox of life, and that's how it is. That's actually how it is. So, okay, for a lighter one, just learn to write everything that's in your mind. The science behind writing things is like, I really believe it's out there. Like when you write things down, you know, even like goals that you write down, you're more likely to achieve them just because you write them down, and not just plans and objectives and like goals and everything, but also things that are just in the background, like, you know, things that are in your mind. You're trying to work, but there are all these things that keep coming up, even things that are like memories or things you're embarrassed about, or things you are feeling like someone said something in a way that put you off, or, you know, things like that. Like, just put it down on a paper, put it or whatever on a Word document or something. Just put it outside your brain, and even there's just something like that, you know, there's so much RAM that is taken up by things you're thinking about, but you're not really acting towards them. You're just like ruminating over and over. I should do this. I love this person and they did this, and, you know, I'm worried about this and I'm embarrassed about this, and they're just like mulling. You're like going over them in your mind again and again. Just put it down somewhere where you can see it with your own eyes, and then now you can start to like address them, or it'll just feel like some relief, you know. The power of rewards. This is another big beast, and I feel like I can't really do it justice in this short video, but for now I'll say you can literally incentivize yourself to do almost anything using the power of rewarding yourself. Just treat yourself every time you do a good action, and you will see like the next time it's somehow easier. It's somehow like you want to reach for it. It's like we really are Pavlov's dog in some way. Yeah, not in a bad way, but I think I'm going to talk more at length, because when I learned about that thing in terms of like self-motivation, it changed my life forever. It really all the hardest things I've done in my life, like I've done like these exams or like certifications, the CFA, or like trying to apply for school and come abroad, and like even just applying to jobs, and, you know, like writing 30 applications to different companies. Like every one of them I always built in like a treat for myself, and you guys, it's just so motivating. I don't know how to tell you this, but the science is there. Like, of all the things like I want you to take out of this video, that's the most important like practical step. Like, do you know how much it's like, you know, the story of like Pavlov's dog, you know, like the conditioning with the bell and the treat or something. Like, when you realize how much inside us, like our lizard brain is like that Pavlov's dog, you will realize why it's so important for you to treat yourself every time you're moving in the direction that you want to move. So anyway, anything, even like things I'm working on internally, like self-esteem and like trying not to judge others and all these things, like I literally have to put my efforts with a treat. Yeah. Anyway, that's all I will say for now, but more on that later. You should always put a buffer to things that you estimate, like things at work, you know, like the way you say this thing is going to take me 1 hour, or this thing is going to take me 2 days. When you've made an estimation like that, most of the time we are usually like off by a few points. Like if you think it's 1 hour, in reality it's going to take you like 3-4 hours. If you think it's going to take 2 days, in reality it might even take like 3 days. Like, and even people who, especially people who are telling you, like it's not even you estimating, it's someone else. So let's say maybe you have a manager and they say, oh, do this, do this, it will only take like a few hours of your time, like maximum 4 hours. Like, always add a buffer. Always say that plus, not minus, plus extra. Or let's say you have like someone who is reporting to you, and they say, so you ask them, when might this be ready? And then they say, oh, don't worry, it will be ready in 1 week. Like, add the buffer. Don't sit there believing and like, relying on that. Like, it's not even a bad thing. Like, even me personally, whenever I'm trying to assess how much time anything will take me, how much effort and money it takes me, I always get it wrong, like always. So anyway, the more I become better at doing things, the more I've learned to, okay, there's the first thought I had, my first estimate, and then I have to add some more time into it. Yeah. That's all I will say for now. Then the other, this is more like a funny stroke sad one, but how do I say this so that people don't catch feelings? But when two people find each other and start loving each other, like they actually start dating and being in each other's life, usually it comes at a cost. No, how can I say this? Like, your partner kind of knocks out 2 to 3 friends. The science, I think I read, I can't remember where I read it, but it has the power to knock out 2 to 3 friends, because like love relationships are very intense. So that one is not easy to hear, I know, but it's just like, don't be surprised. Let's say your friend has started dating someone and you're feeling like you can't catch up anymore, you're trying to catch them and it's hard. Like, it's genuinely hard for people to keep their romantic partner without it affecting like other friendships. And then to throw a spanner in the works, like, I just feel like when you get married, it also means something for your friendships with the opposite gender. Like for someone like me, I really had so many male friends. I would say like it was easier for me to make like really good friendships and like best friends with males than females. What am I saying? Male and female, like just men. But now, since getting married, I've had to, I can't be as comfy anymore. I mean, I wouldn't want to put my spouse in a situation where, I'm being vulnerable too excessively with men, So I actually like realized I had to mourn that. Like, I had to mourn just my old relationships. I had to mourn that I can't be as comfy and as like, I can't continue having all these men friends as much as before. I have to tone it down. That one was hard for me to admit. Yeah. The other one is there's always a cost to the person that you have chosen to become. Like, if you like, for the life that you've chosen and for the goals you're going for, there's a cost to it. There's a person who you will not become by choosing this path, and it's important for you to accept it. Like, for example, if you're choosing to be this person, like for the next year you are trying to do like to invest in education, and you're trying to do all these certifications, you're trying to become like very serious at being a student, you know, by definition you can't be like, oh, I feel like I'm not adventurous enough, I feel like I'm really boring to my friends, I feel like, you know, I'm not interesting and not funny, and like I have nothing to say. Like, you know, for every one decision that you choose, I'm going to be like this, there's an opposite one that you are forfeiting, okay? And just it's good for you to pinpoint what is the cost of the life you've chosen, and look at it face to face and just accept, like, I am not going to be ABC. I'm not saying limit yourself, but when you let yourself be like, when you let yourself feel insecure about being everything in the world, that makes you more unstable, that makes you even not show up for the things you are dedicated to. So it's better to just say, I am okay with not being A, B, and C, you know. Yeah, if for example you want to be the spontaneous person that travels, you just look at yourself and you say, I'll be the person that maybe is not as academic as the other people. I'll be not like having promotions at work. Like, by being adventurous, I am giving up this. So there's just know, like, there's a cost to the life you've opted into, and better for you to just accept, so that you can truly lean in to what you're doing and do it well, instead of being confused by other things, you know. One of the most important things I learned how to do was to think about, to quantify the impact that you've been having on people, or, you know, not just people but also things. So it's like, or think about things in terms of numbers, like hours worked, years spent, you know, money saved. Let's say you look at like this thing, like you normally like you're a babysitter or something like that, you know, and maybe you're looking down upon your job, but there's a way in which you can communicate that to someone else and say, like, I have been able to take care of X number of children, or I've been able to work with, you know, different families, yeah, and I've been able to do like work for 4 months or for 2 years or something. Like, there's always a way you can quantify the things you've been doing. And really, if you look at it, almost everything, even things that are your passion projects, even things that you do as hobbies, you know, there's always a way in which you can quantify the effort that you've been putting, that you have been doing, and the results. And if you can learn how to like communicate that to other people, like, let's say you're looking for your next job, don't look down upon anything you've done. Like, say I've worked with over 10 families doing babysitting for them, you know. Like, let's say if you are a house help, you can say, you know, I have been able to work like over 4 years with the same client, you know. I have been able to like manage and run a home or multiple homes in the past, and you know, keep things in order. So I know like home management skills, like, every person, it's very common to trivialize the things you have been doing, even especially if they're like your pastimes or your hobbies. But the minute you learn how to think about the impact that has had on people, or think about things in terms of numbers, like hours worked, years spent, money saved, like those things, you need to, like, for example, put them in your resume. But also, like, when you're describing them to other people, don't just say, oh yeah, I babysat, that's it, I walked dogs, that's it. No, just add the quantification of it, because then people remember, like, this person has worked over 2 years doing something, and it means like they have a certain level of like commitment, or like consistency. And it can be anything. It can be the followers you have on YouTube. It can be all your efforts that you have put in. Stop underestimating them and find a number and put it to that thing. I just wanted to say that for those of you who are feeling like you don't fit in, you don't belong in the spaces, like the spaces that you're in right now, or in the world, you just feel like there are very few people who get you, or something like that. I just wanted to say that I am celebrating your uniqueness. Like, everybody is here and serving a very unique purpose for a reason. You being the way you are is important for a reason. Like, you thinking things differently, doing things differently is like, it's the spice of life. Like, can you imagine if the world was just made up of the same type of people? Can you imagine a world where everyone was the same, Like, obviously it wouldn't be nice to live in such a world. So you coming in with your different ways of doing things, your different ways of thinking about things, it's very important. And I just wish people would be more comfortable in expressing who they are. And I really am seeing it right now. Like, you can be, for example, you might be in a situation where you're saying, oh, I'm not as ambitious as other people. I just feel like I want to do like creative things more, or, I just want to like sit at home and like do homely things and like arrange spaces or like clean or something. Like, can you imagine if, for example, in a family, every one person was equally ambitious and everyone was out there doing things? Like, are you getting? It would be, things would not work. There's a reason why there's that one person in the family who is more like into arranging things and making things look like all put together and clean and neat. Then there's that other person who, for whatever reason, they just remember all the family history and family details. They can tell you, we did this on this certain day this year, this happened. There's that one person in the family who's like comical relief. Maybe they don't do much, like maybe they are not ambitious, they look like they're kind of sitting around, but then they like make people happy because they're like making everyone laugh. And then, let's say there's the person who is ambitious, who's maybe a bit like boring. Maybe they're like all like, oh, I'm calculating this, I'm calculating that, but then they're like the accountant of the home. Like, do you see, in one home it takes all these people to make the home stand, like to actually be stable. And that's just like a proxy for society. All of us have a place. The way you're thinking, the way your mind works is very important. So you might look around and feel like I don't fit in. I feel like everyone is doing A, B, C, D, and I'm not doing it. But I'm here to tell you there's a reason. There's a very beautiful reason why you are the way you are. Please just live in your body, be comfortable, and in fact lean into the things you are interested in, the things that you're passionate about, the things that find people who like elevate you and make you feel more inspired, and lean into it, because there's a very important reason for you being the way you are.